dear YouTube subscriber. I've got good news. I can be Santa because there's this amazing company and they are called Home Hobby by 3L, and they've sent me 3 boxes, and one of them I'm going to keep myself, of course, but 2 of them I'm going to send off. So if you're interested what is inside and if it's worth your while, then please stay tuned.
So let's start unboxing this. And as you can see, it comes in a firm box. It's a Home Hobby by 3L, and it comes in a wrap over a value 40 euros, and it's for beginners, so this should be a set especially for beginners. And I'm going to check what is inside, but first I want to see what is in that folder there around the box. It's learn how to sketch with well, you can see it here. They're also on YouTube and on Instagram, Facebook, and you can actually watch some of their tutorials made by this lady here, and you can also find them at www.123creative.com. Now I'm going to open the box and check what's inside. Now what I see here is some instruction going on, so that's nice, and it's wrapped in plastic, so I'm going to open this up for you and then check what is inside. Now as you can see, there are folders here and they are explaining about what the materials are all about. They've also included some watercolor pencils, and you can see charcoal pencils, charcoal sticks, kneadable eraser, all the things that are important to have when you are a beginning artist. And also they are explaining here what can be done with the different kinds of material, and they have put in some exercises. This is a boat that they have drawn with the charcoal for inspiration. And here I can see some hints on drawing a cactus and hatching and cross-hatching techniques. Now these are the birds. Also they can be found back in YouTube. So let's walk this through. Oh, look here, that's nice. They've put in the actual some actual pictures. Now this box is about these birds, and the 2 boxes that I'm going to send off contain cats. So I think you will find the same kind of information, but then about the cats, so that's nice. And here you can see how you can put a raster over your picture so you can get a good image, and it's very helpful for beginner artists. And this is her end result. So, well, nice tips, I think, and very inspirational. And this is what comes along. I can see here there are charcoal pencils, a blender stick, a kneadable eraser, and those bars. And these are fine tip pens, a 0.1 and a 0.5. So that's very nice too. And here I see watercolor pencils to try out. And these are the graphite pencils, and they've included the 2H, the HB, the 2B, and the 8B to try out. A pencil sharpener, and this is their sketchbook. So this is what I'm going to test out too. I'm going to test out all material, on their drawing paper. And I've unboxed now the material, as you can see. And what they have included is this folder here, so you can dive into what you have once you have purchased or received this box. And as you see, the graphite pencils do not have points yet, but you can easily make them yourself. You can see it here. I've used their pencil sharpener, and it's sharp enough, so that's how you put in the points. So don't get scared when you see, oh, there are no points there. They have not been sharpened yet. And I think it's very neat that they have that 2H, HB and 2B and 8B, so you can learn the difference of hardness. These are those fine tip pens that I'm going to test out. 0.5 and 0.1. The 0.1 is finer than the 0.5. Here you can see the charcoal. This is a very thick one. I'm very curious about that. And these are charcoal sticks, brown and black. And this is the kneadable eraser. I have not yet worked with that much, so I'm happy to try this out. I usually use a pencil eraser, and these are very bright watercolor pencils, so I'm going to test those out too for you, if they are bright enough for me. So well, I usually work sharpening my pencils with a standard knife, but that's more for the intermediate. And if you are a very young art student, then it can be tricky to use a knife. And this is the sketching paper they send along, and it's very nice. You can easily go on because there are those rings. And I will be, well, let me guide a little bit by what is inside the box, of course. Sorry for that. What I'm going to try first are the graphite pencils. And you can start by using, for instance, the 2H, which is hardest, and this is my cat Mercy, so I'm going to tuck her in the room next door. Then there's of course the HB, which is just in between the H and the B. Now the B is the softest and the H is the hardest. And I would suggest you try out and see what the differences are between the softest and the hardest. And as you can see, the 2H, for instance, is the hardest and will make a little bit lighter gray than what you can see here, the 8B, for instance. Graphite pencils are most oftenly used by beginner artists because they are very easy to handle, and you get to know the different kinds of gray and shadings. So most artists, and that includes me, have started once with the graphites to learn the eye and hand coordination when starting drawing. And here I'm testing out the blender stick, and the blender stick is very nice for blending the pigments that are in the graphite. And this is the kneadable eraser. I have to train this because I have not worked with that much in my life. I usually pick up my pencil eraser, but I will test it out. Now what I also did with those graphite pencil is draw that iris using all the graphite material. And I have put in some grasses just to make it a little bit lively. And then I started with their charcoal pencils and charcoal stick. And from Pixabay I've printed out a face, a nice face, and I will demonstrate now what the charcoal can do. The charcoal pencil that I sharpened broke, but the other one didn't, so I'm just going to use that. And charcoal is very, very soft indeed, but I love this material, so be careful sharpening. And this is the natural charcoal, and you will see it here. You can very quickly put in bigger areas, and the natural charcoal is slightly lighter and easier to erase. As you can see here on the left side, I've used the charcoal pencils. Now the charcoal pencils are much darker than the natural charcoal is. So it's kind of like when you are using 2H gradations against 8B gradations when drawing with graphite. Now drawing with charcoal is very, very nice because you can just shift the pigments around, and I even prefer it above drawing with graphite. Also for beginners, because why do I think that? I think that drawing with charcoal gives you more freedom. You get all dirty when using it, but you will be forced to think like a sculptor more. So this is one of the reasons why I wanted to review this box by filled by Hobby Home, because I think it's very, very important for beginners to also draw with charcoal. And as you can see here, of course, drawing a face is not for beginners, but at some point you have to start, or you want to start drawing faces. And in that case I recommend the charcoal very much, because you can easily throw it around, and the contrast is somewhat more higher than the graphite is. And as you can see, I can also use the knittable eraser to draw out hairs, and I have also used it to pop up some areas and draw in flowers in the hair of my model. I'm just using it here to create a bouquet effect. Just turn it, twist it around into the charcoal, and then you get a nice bouquet effect. So charcoal brings a big freedom for beginner artists. And you can see I'm kneading the kneadable eraser around, and I'm also using the blender stick. And the blender stick also is very nice to use when drawing with charcoal. And what's also very nice is that a charcoal works very, very fast. You get fast effects indeed, and that can be very important not to be too precise when you are a beginner. Just try to get the feel of lights and darks and 3D effects. So I highly recommend charcoal for beginner artists. And here you can see I'm drawing in a little bit of that bokeh effect, and that's very nice indeed. I love charcoal. So next stage is charcoal bars. Now the charcoal bars are a little bit more compressed, and here they are drawing a ship, so I did that too. But I want to explain a little bit more about the charcoal bars. They are in between the natural charcoal and the charcoal pencils. The charcoal pencils are the darkest and the most compressed, and the charcoal bars are in between. Now what I'm demonstrating here is I've put in a little bit of the brown charcoal and I'm rubbing this into the paper, and then here on the lower part I'm drawing in some waves. So as you can see, very quickly you can give your drawing paper a color, like you are drawing on color paper, except this one is of course white. But with the charcoal bars you can give your color paper a color, and with the kneadable eraser you can easily create some clouds in the sky, for instance. Now this works very fast indeed, and here I'm going sideways along my waves, and then I'm making those clouds pop out a little bit more. And this is also something that I love about charcoal, because you get a great atmosphere just in about like 10 minutes. And from that atmosphere I am now picking up my charcoal pencils and I start drawing in a boat. So first I've put in the surrounding with those charcoal bars, and then I just simply draw in with the compressed charcoal from the charcoal pencils the boat, and then I give that boat a little bit of shadow with the blender stick. Here I'm lighting up the sails that are on my sailboat, and well, the surface of the sea I have made very quiet and calm, but you can just imagine what to do when to make a very rough sea, for instance. But this sea is very calm indeed, and you can see just how quickly you get results when using and combining all kinds of charcoal. So this is something that is so very nice indeed, and why I well, got enthusiastic about this box, because I think, again, for beginners it is important to experiment with the material and not to stick to one kind of drawing material all the time. Now this is my last test, and this is the test of the Fineliners that came with the box. And what I am very curious about, of course, is the quality. And as you can see, the quality is just fine. It's just perfect. But I want to test if these fine liners also are water resistant. Because if you were to draw a pen and ink wash, then you want your ink to stay in place. So what I'm doing here is I'm drawing a simple lighthouse that stands on the edge of the sea, of course, and just a very quick sketch, nothing fancy. And I draw in some clouds, maybe some birds, and here you can see the shore and, well, maybe some boats in the far distance. And what I want to test now is, are they water resistant? Now what I have here is a bread plank. That's a plank where you cut your bread on. It's made of plastic. And then I simply put in some pigments that come from the watercolor pencils, and I place it onto that board, on that plank, and then I will simply take a water brush pen, or you can just take a brush and a bowl of water, of course. And now I'm going to see how the pigments are of the pencil, but even more important, are those fine liners water resistant? And as you can see, yes, they are. They simply stick in place. So these fine liners, the 0.1 and the 0.5, are just perfect for my pen and ink washes. Now when you are a beginner artist, of course you will first do your tries with the graphite, and maybe further on you will start experimenting with the charcoals, and then maybe you will pick up some colored charcoal or other kinds of bars and start adding a little bit of color. And this could be a next step, because pen and ink drawing is very, very nice indeed, and the fine liners are the easiest because you do not have to dip your pen into the ink. You just take the fine liner, and you can even first draw with graphite, and then when you're happy you go over it with the ink, with the fine liner. And maybe when you will be ready for it, you can start drawing in, coloring in your drawing with colored pencils. Watercolor pencils are a very, very nice material for beginner artists to start learning about colors. And pen and ink washing is, I think, the perfect way for beginners to start making the most amazing colored drawings. So this is also a reason why I wanted to unpack this box, and why I am proud to be able to send 2 of them off to one of my subscribers. Now I only have one problem, and that is I cannot export them outside of Europe. So if you are interested in a box of this, then you can put a good reason in the comments below, and I will go over it in the upcoming week, and then I will just randomly pick somebody, but it has to be a good reason, and I hope for somebody that is really, really a beginner and really want to try this out. But you have to be located within Europe, because I will not be allowed to ship them outside of Europe. So, I hope you found these tips very helpful, and I want to thank Home Hobby for sending these boxes to me and enable me to give 2 of them away. Also, I wish you the best of Christmas, of course. Have fun, all of you, and I will be back with you next Friday. Take care. Bye bye.